few minutes, US President Donald Trump has announced sweeping tariffs on goods imported into the United States from all countries.
President Trump's announcement of universal tariffs on the whole world, including the European Union, is a major blow.
La guerra comercial abierta por el presidente Trump es una pésima noticia para el mundo.
The decision announced last night is both brutal and unfounded.
Die jüngsten Zollentscheidungen des US-Präsidenten halte ich für grundfalsch.
America is shocked, Europe is enraged, and global markets are reeling. On April 2nd, 2025 U.S., President Donald Trump signed an executive order imposing universal tariffs on imported goods from around the world, including the European Union. This decision immediately triggered a political explosion and economic turbulence, opening a new chapter in the global trade war, one that experts warn could become the most extensive since the Great Depression of the 1930s. This is not just a technical measure, it is a direct challenge to the entire international trade order. Europe, stunned by Washington's abrupt move, responded immediately. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen issued a stern statement warning that the EU is preparing countermeasures and will not stand aside. According to her, the European Union no longer intends to tolerate unilateral dictates. This move by the U.S., in the eyes of European leaders, is not only an economic blow, but also a political slap in the face to its allies. The newly imposed U.S. tariffs of between 20 and 25% affect a broad range of goods, including steel, aluminum, automobiles and their components, alcohol, textiles, electronics, and pharmaceuticals. The blow was particularly painful for the automotive industries of Germany, France, and Italy, which have historically exported billions of dollars worth of vehicles to the U.S. Germany's Minister for Economic Affairs declared, "If America strikes at our auto industry, we will respond in kind." Similar statements followed from Paris and Rome. The European Commission is already compiling a list of goods to be targeted by retaliatory tariffs, and among them are iconic American brands, from Ford and General Motors to Kentucky Bourbon and Levi's. If these tariffs come into effect, the prices of American goods in Europe will surge, and their sales could collapse. France is considering imposing tariffs on American alcohol, specifically bourbon and whiskey. According to experts, the decline in export volumes could reach 800 million euros. Italy is targeting textiles and sportswear from the United States. Annually, the Italian market consumes up to $5 billion worth of such products. Spain is preparing a response in the agricultural sector. American corn, soybeans, and meat, which are widely used in the Spanish food industry, are at risk. The Nordic countries, Sweden, Norway, and Finland, have also joined the fray. Sweden, which actively cooperates with the U.S. in the fields of technology and mechanical engineering, has announced its readiness to introduce reciprocal measures. If Washington limits imports of European equipment, the Swedes will do the same with American technologies. At the same time, companies like IKEA, Spotify, and Ericsson may come under pressure from American sanctions, adding another layer of tension. But the most sensitive front is pharmaceuticals. The European Union imports $45 billion worth of American medical products annually, and while these goods have not yet been subjected to tariff pressure, discussions on the matter are already underway. The imposition of tariffs in this sector threatens not only losses for U.S. corporations, but also increased costs for Europe's healthcare systems. Against this backdrop, the escalation of trade barriers has already begun to affect stock markets. The DAX, CAC 40, and FTSE indices have fallen by between 1 and 1.6%. Shares of technology giants, transportation, and logistics companies are trending downward. The automotive sector has been particularly hard hit, along with enterprises dependent on transnational supply chains. European consumers and businesses are already feeling the first consequences. The total volume of U.S. exports to Europe in 2024 exceeded $360 billion. The EU is considering imposing tariffs on goods worth at least $150 billion. This would deliver a significant blow to American manufacturers, especially in sectors where Europe has alternative sources of supply, such as steel, aluminum, and auto parts. Within the European Union, there is a surprising sense of unity. Germany, France, Italy, and Spain are holding regular video conferences with the European Commission. In Brussels, a package of retaliatory tariffs is nearly finalized and could take effect by the end of April. Despite differences in national priorities, the shared frustration over the United States' tariff aggression has united European capitals. The question of who will prevail in this new phase of trade confrontation remains unanswered. On one hand, Donald Trump is counting on domestic support by appealing to patriotism and promises of protectionism. On the other hand, the European Union is demonstrating that it can and will defend its interests, even if that means straining ties with a long-standing ally. However, the cost of this conflict may prove unacceptably high for all parties involved. European and American companies risk losing access to markets, while ordinary citizens may have to pay more for food, medicine, transportation, and clothing. If the situation is not resolved through diplomacy, this trade escalation could evolve into the largest economic conflict of the 21st century. The coming weeks will be decisive. Whether a compromise can be reached or the world is dragged into a full-scale trade storm remains to be seen. For now, one thing is clear: Europe no longer intends to be the silent ally in the United States' one-sided trade games.